Alright guys, I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to rebrand these Viking PLR packs if you so choose. We're going to start with the PowerPoint slides for the videos. So the videos, we've been very careful to make sure that there's no branding or no mention of Viking in the audio. So you can actually continue to use the audio track if you prefer, and simply remove the visual Viking branding. The easiest way to do that is going to be to come to each image. There's 3 Viking images in each slide presentation, and what you'll do is you'll right click, you'll come over here to change picture, choose from a file, and I'll just grab a random image here. Easy as that. You would do the same thing here and here, and if you did want to change the voiceover, all you'd have to do is you would actually have to delete this sound file here. You'd have to insert a new one, which would be here, audio on my PC, and you can grab any audio file that you choose. Once you do grab an audio file, you're going to want to set it to play in background, and all of these settings will default to their appropriate settings with the exception of one. You'll want to uncheck loop until stopped. Okay. Now, since there will be a difference between our audio and your audio in terms of the timing of the various bullet points and everything, you're going to want to rehearse timings if you change the audio. Same thing goes for if you add bullets or any other content to the slideshow. So what you'll want to do is come up here to slideshow, and you'll click rehearse timings, and this is basically what you'll do. You'll just click through as though you're going through an entire PowerPoint presentation. I'm on a 4K monitor, that's why the let me go ahead and turn this off. Yeah, sorry. So I was on a 4K monitor, so that's why it looked all zoomed in there. But basically, you would just proceed as though you were doing any other PowerPoint presentation and clicking at the right times in synchronization with your audio. And once you've done that, at the end there, when it says, do you want to save the timings, you hit yes. And from that point forward, when it renders a video, everything will be in sync. Okay, so we've covered how to change the images, remove all the Viking branding, how to change the audio. The last thing left to do in order to make these into a video would be to come over to File, and you're just going to come to Export, Create Video. Make sure this is set to use recorded timings and narrations. Those are the ones that you just set up. It should be set that way by default, and to choose your presentation quality. There's no reason not to do full HD these days. And create video, and that'll render, over the course of a few minutes, an MP4 video file of this presentation. And let's see if I missed anything here. Nope, I think that's about it for the PowerPoint slides. Let's move over to the the Viking bonus creation Word documents. So what I'm about to say applies to the reports as well as to the full ebooks. And really, it's actually very similar to PowerPoint, except for one thing I'll mention at the beginning is this background. It's here for stylistic reasons. It looks kind of cool and slick, but I understand a lot of people might not like that. So what you'll want to do, when you first open the document, everything will look kind of gray and hazy here. And that's because that background image is actually in the header. And it is, as far as Microsoft Word is concerned, it's layered in front of the text. So step 1 is going to be to double click in the header area. Step 2, click one more time, and you're actually going to select this background image. Okay, you'll see these little dots up here in the corners and on the sides. That's how you can resize this. If you want to keep this background and you just want to get rid of it temporarily while you edit and change things so you can see a little more clearly, that's all you do. You just drag it to the side, and then remember to drag it back over before you finally render or export your document. And if you want to just delete it, that's fine. Just hit delete, and you get rid of that. If you want to switch to a white background, we'll just come over to Design up here, Page Color, change the page color to white, and what you'll see is that Microsoft Word, let me close out of the header mode actually. There we go. Microsoft Word, when you change the background to white, automatically changes the white text to black. Okay. Let's see here. Same rules apply here for changing the picture. Change picture from file. You can choose any picture that you'd like. You would want to go into the footer area. I'm going to go ahead and change the page color back to black. It's worth noting here that in the footer area it does not automatically change this text to black if you change the background to white, so you'll want to come in and manually do that. Just up here under home, and you can obviously change colors up here. And you're going to want to come in here, obviously remove the Viking branding from this, replace this image, and look for any other references. There shouldn't be any other references to Viking branding with the exception of down here inside of the reports where it actually recommends that your customers or your leads grab the ebook inside of each of the reports. But you can always just do Control F and look for the word Viking, see if there's any other Viking branding that we missed. We made sure not to include any in the actual body of the document in the case of the ebooks. And that is about it for the Word documents, guys. I just want to reiterate, when you distribute this to your audience, it needs to be in PDF format. So you're going to come up here to File, and you're going to save as Adobe PDF. Simple as that. Same thing goes for the PowerPoints. You can only distribute the video files once you export it as an MP4. You cannot distribute the actual presentation slides themselves. Again, unless you upgraded and got the master transferable PLR rights, in which case you can sell PLR rights to these. But if you just got the standard package of our Viking PLR bundles, and you're just distributing these to end users under your own PLR rights, make sure that when you distribute, you're only dealing with PDFs and video files, not with any Word documents or PowerPoint slides. That's about it for the tutorial. Guys, if there's any information here that I didn't cover or that you don't understand about rebranding, feel free to send us a support ticket, and if necessary, we'll go ahead and update this tutorial and re-upload it to the members area. All right, thanks, guys.
So why use Twitter? Twitter is without question one of the most active, popular social platforms on the web. The platform has about 310 million monthly active users and an additional 550 million monthly viewers who don't log into their accounts, but merely consume other people's tweets. About 1/3 of all US social media users are on Twitter, and 80% of active users access the site via mobile. Somewhere around 500 million tweets are sent per day, which adds up to about 6,000 tweets per second. Businesses haven't missed out on the utility of Twitter. About 65% of US companies who have 100+ employees are marketing on Twitter. There's good reason for this. The average Twitter user follows 5 businesses. 80% of Twitter users have mentioned a brand in their tweets. 77% feel more positive about a brand when their tweet is replied to by a business, and 54% have taken some kind of action, such as a purchase, sign up, visiting a site, after seeing a brand mentioned in a tweet. So clearly, this is a powerful platform for any business. The question is, how can you leverage it? The first thing you have to do is develop a Twitter plan. Your Twitter plan should be in place before you even set up your Twitter account, so you can start implementing and sticking with it from day one. If you attack Twitter half-heartedly and without a plan, you'll do what too many entrepreneurs do. You'll eventually let your Twitter marketing peter out. Nobody wants to look like that embarrassing business whose last tweet was from 3 years ago, and there's a ton of those. So generally, you want to put down a plan in writing that covers your day-to-day activity on Twitter. For example, maybe you'll send out 2 tweets per day, Monday through Saturday. Maybe you or one of your team members will do these tweets manually each day. Otherwise, perhaps your weekly plan will include 1 hour every Sunday where you draft and schedule each of your tweets for the coming week using a social media scheduling tool like Warlord Social Suite, sort of an internet marketing-friendly version of Hootsuite. Then, maybe you plan on participating in Twitter chats once each week to grow your following and network. Finally, your plan should include at least a daily check-in, preferably more than once per day, in which you check for questions, mentions, retweets, etc., and reply to them accordingly. Next up, it's time to set up your Twitter account. Setting up your brand's Twitter account seems simple enough, but here are some important guidelines. Your Twitter name should be your actual name or business name, while your handle should either be your business name or something catchy that represents your business. Keep in mind, the handle is a nickname that you see after the @ sign, and it has a character limit, so your full name or business name might not fit as your handle in its entirety. Next, you'll want to set up a powerful bio. Your bio should do 2 things. accurately represent and introduce people to your brand, and also be optimized for search results. You're limited to 160 characters, so you'll need to choose carefully what you squeeze into your bio. Some important considerations for your bio are hashtags that you want people to find you with, a brand or business description, your mission or purpose, especially on Twitter, and maybe your job/position in your company if you've got a personal profile. After that, you'll want to choose a profile URL. Most businesses tend to simply put their homepage here. That's okay, but you should actually be aiming for something more special. Instead of your general homepage, try creating a landing page specifically for Twitter users who come to your site via your profile URL. This way they can see something relevant, and maybe you can collect leads and track how many of your leads come from Twitter. Or maybe you can make some sales or showcase a Twitter follower-specific offer of some sort. Finally, you'll want to iron out the visual representation of your brand by choosing a profile pic, a cover image, and a color scheme. Your profile pic could be your own portrait. Make it snazzy and professional, or your business logo. Your cover image should be catchy and fit well with the rest of your brand image. Consider throwing a call to action in there too. As for your colors, just make sure they match your brand and convey the feeling you want your followers to experience. The general idea with all these things is to keep your brand representation consistent across all your social media platforms. That's it for this video. If you're interested in that resource we mentioned earlier for scheduling all your tweets in advance, go ahead and check out Warlord's Social Suite for more information. So the next step is to introduce yourself on Twitter with an initial tweet. Ideally, this should not be salesy. Opt instead for something catchy, funny, and/or helpful. And consider using an image relevant to your brand for that first tweet. Remember, this will be the first time people have seen your brand on Twitter. You don't want it to look like an annoying advertisement. Make that first impression a positive one. Once you've done that, it's time to start implementing your Twitter plan. Start drafting those daily tweets, and keep in mind this is about consistent social media exposure over time. Don't expect to become the biggest viral sensation on the web overnight, and don't be disappointed if, and when, you don't get much in the way of results in the very beginning. That will come later, but you have to stick to your plan. Here are some guidelines for your daily and weekly Twitter activities. Find a balance between promotional stuff and useful stuff, and lean more towards the latter. Throw a little bit of funny and entertaining into the mix from time to time as well. If you're out of ideas, don't hesitate to curate or share content from other entities like blog posts or articles, and always mention the source using the @sign. That @sign will notify the source of your post and can be a good way to foster goodwill and relationships. Another guideline is to include hashtags in most of your tweets. Make sure these are relevant and try not to throw in more than 2 or 3 in one tweet. Statistics show that if you include more than that, you risk annoying people and losing engagement. Also, be generous with retweets. Retweets are great because they're an easy way to fill your weekly tweet quota and can also foster goodwill and relationships with other Twitter users. Be sure to include a comment explaining why you're retweeting or what your thoughts are. The absolute key here is remain consistent. You've got to be doing this stuff every single day. If you're worried about not being able to keep up with it, or maybe staying consistent and avoiding procrastination is something that you struggle with, definitely consider checking out a resource like Warlord's Social Suite, which we mentioned in the last video. This will be a good way to take the amount of time you have to spend on Twitter each week and consolidate it into about a half hour or an hour every week, which will definitely help you stick to your Twitter marketing plan consistently. Once you've established a consistent routine, it'll be time to move on to the next video, which covers expanding your Twitter following. If you follow the guidelines in the previous chapter, then after a few days you should have at least a handful of followers. Now it's time to crank things up a notch. Let's go over some methods for building your following even more. First, follow relevant members of your market and you'll often get followed in return. Next, try to interact in real time throughout the day. This will become apparent to Twitter users and you'll appear as alert, responsive, and engaged. Pay close attention to trending hashtags and topics so you can leverage their momentum. Ensure you mention or cite people in tweets using the @sign. Many will return the favor. What you tweet matters too. In addition to textual tweets or mentions of interesting articles, be sure to include some catchy media. Use relevant, attractive images. Include videos from time to time. Make it a point to proactively encourage engagement with questions and polls. This provokes responses and gives would-be followers the impression that you're there to listen, not just to talk. And yes, those cheesy quote images work too. All of these practices will increase engagement, sharing, and so on. In addition to these methods, it's important to follow some basic Twitter etiquette and maintain the following that you have. Although scheduling tools like Warlord Social Suite are great for the majority of your activity, you should also make time for a bit of responsive, manual, real-time interaction during the week. People can tell when you're using your Twitter account as an automated advertising machine, and they'll unfollow you in a heartbeat. On a related note, don't ever purchase followers. You'll see others doing it, and you'll likely be tempted. But most of these followers will be bots, and you will destroy your brand and your reputation. Bottom line, if you're going to expand your following on Twitter, you need to come across as genuine and engaged. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll discuss how to achieve a return on investment for all this time and work you've put into your Twitter marketing. So you've put a ton of time, work, and perhaps money into your Twitter operations. Now it's time to capitalize on it. Remember, this is not a one-time thing, so don't suddenly ruin all the work you've done by abruptly trying to sell stuff to all of your followers. It won't work, and you'll have wasted everything. Instead, make this the normal. Stick to the plan. Keep building your audience. Gradually and gently start seeking a return on this investment. Remember what we said about balance? How the useful and entertaining stuff should be the norm while the salesy stuff should be the exception? Well, it's time to start thinking about that exception. Although Twitter can certainly bring in sales, it's best to just periodically use to build your list and familiarize people with your content and your off-Twitter presence. Post tweets that link to a landing page designed to generate leads. Invite people to read your blog posts or articles, or to watch your videos. If you insist on selling things from time to time, just try to keep it to a minimum and maybe limit it to special deals or exciting new products. Bottom line, make sure you set your sights on remaining helpful and engaged. Stick to your daily or weekly Twitter plan. Make sure you're posting things that are useful or entertaining. And every now and then, try to work in maybe a soft pitch for a sale, or more often, just try to generate leads, grow your community, and familiarize people with your content and your brand. So, with all that out of the way, let's get into your battle plan. This guide has been pretty exhaustive, but it doesn't mean a thing unless you act on it and remain consistent. To that end, here's a quick battle plan that should get you on your way to Twitter marketing success. Step 1, develop your marketing plan. Remember, you want to do this before you even start posting on Twitter. Step 2, set up your account to match your branding. Keep in mind, for some users, this will be their first impression of your brand, and you also want to keep it consistent with all your other social media platforms. Step 3, start implementing your plan with daily tweets. Again, you can rely mostly on a scheduling platform like Warlord Social Suite, but also try to get in there and do some real-time engagement and interaction as well. It'll pay dividends for you in the long run. Step 4, diversify your tweeting style and content to maximize engagement and follower building. Don't just always throw out textual tweets. Include images, include videos. Ask questions in your tweets. Use polls. Retweet people. Cite people using the @ sign. Curate content from a blog or website and cite them as well. All these things will maximize engagement and follower building. Step 5, gently and subtly start achieving ROI by promoting your off-Twitter content, your free offers, and your special deals. The key word there is gently. Don't abruptly turn your Twitter account into an automated advertising platform. Stick to the plan, be helpful, useful, and entertaining, and gradually start achieving your return on investment by slowly turning your Twitter followers into leads and customers. So that's your 5-step battle plan. Don't do what most people do. Don't leave this course thinking, well, that sounds cool and I'll probably get to it eventually. Because guess what? There's a very good chance you'll just keep kicking this can down the road, and by the time you do get to it, you might have forgotten what you learned. The best thing you can do for your business right now is open up a Word document and start on step 1. Start putting down your marketing plan on paper, and then start implementing it today.
Hey guys, Steven here. Got a few tips and little things to keep in mind when you're editing the Word document version of your Viking PLR materials. So, as you'll see, when you're editing the Word document version, everything will sort of be covered by sort of this faded grayish, whitish cloud. Here's how you get rid of that, okay? You're going to go into the header area, okay, just sort of towards the top of any of these pages. Double-click, and you'll be in header editing mode. Now what you're actually seeing here, this blue and black gradient background image, it's not actually a background to the document, okay? Typically you go to design, You'd go to page color for page background. You'd create this gradient in the background. That actually gets ruined when you transport this or export this to PDF, okay? So instead of doing that, what we've done is if you click one more time up here in the header area, just a single click, you'll see we've actually selected an image. This is just one single image in the header of each page. You only have to put it in there once, just like any other header content. And you'll click here, and you can see, don't actually change this, I just want you to see it, that it's behind the text, and this is an image. It has to be inserted. Its point of insertion has to be inside of the header, and basically what we did was we just resized it to take up the entire page, okay? What you're going to do when you want to edit this without having that grayness on top of everything is literally just do what I just did. Resize it so it's in the top left corner here, okay? And then you can click outside of the header, and boom, you can edit your text and stuff, edit your affiliate links, add your affiliate links in here, do whatever else you wanted to do. And then when you're done editing and you're about to finalize it and export it to PDF, just double click back up here in the header area, click one more time on this image, and stretch it out back to the way it was to fill up the entire page. And you'll see that's applied to all the pages, okay? And boom, you're good to go. This way, when you export it to PDF, it'll look appropriate. It'll look the way it's supposed to look, you know? It'll have sort of that background image the way it's supposed to be. So just a couple of reminders. You are permitted to change everything in here. You can change the title, you can change the name, you can change the entire brand, get rid of this, put your own stuff in there. You can edit this, change it however you want. However, remember, when you're going to distribute your new product, whether you keep the Viking branding or not, you are not authorized by your license to distribute it in Word format. You cannot distribute it as a Word document. You have to export it as a, where is it at? Oh, right here. Yeah, save as Adobe PDF, okay? Or print to Adobe PDF works sometimes. Depending on what version of Word you're looking at, it might sound different. It might say export as PDF or something like that. But make sure you're only distributing PDFs in accordance with your license, okay? Other than that, yeah, that about covers it for this, guys, okay? So just keep in mind when you come in here and you're wondering what all this weird faded look is all about, just double-click in the header, click one more time to grab the image, pull that image out of the way in whatever direction you want, and then before you finalize it to PDF, drag it right back, okay? Simple as that. As always, if you guys have any other questions about this whole process, go ahead and drop us a support ticket, and we'll get you guys sorted out ASAP. Okay, thanks, guys.